Before the high kings crowned themselves with gold, before the scribes etched their futile laws onto crumbling clay, there was only the hammer of necessity. Safety is not a birthright, it is a momentary accident. Look closely at the walled cities, at the pampered men wrapped in silk who speak of order and justice. They are the domesticated animals, fat on the promises of others. They believe their intricate mechanisms, their taxes and their treaties are shields against the night. They are wrong. The wind always finds the gap in the stone, and the wolf always smells the fear beneath the fine linen. The only true measure of a man is the steel he keeps sharp, and the distance he can run when the world decides to burn. Do not trust the soft promise of the shepherd. Trust the cold truth of the predator. The air above Aquilonia is thick with the sweet stench of decay and perfume. You smell both the rot of the sewage channels and the oils of the ruling class. This is the heart of civilization, a gilded cage where men trade their instincts for comfort. They speak of progress, yet they have only perfected the art of reliance. Watch the merchants haggle, pale and soft, their hands accustomed only to counting coin, never to gripping an axe handle through a winter storm. They believe the towering gates of the city, bolted and ironclad, are permanent. They pay the guards, thin and bored, to keep the savagery out. They mistake a fragile truce with nature for mastery over it. But outside these walls, the true world waits. The snow falls, the rocks are unforgiving, and the law is simple. Eat or starve, kill or be killed. The walls merely postpone the inevitable, insulating the weak until the inevitable moment of reckoning arrives. When the wolf finally scales the palisade, these civil beasts will bleat, surprised that their gold cannot buy them courage. It happened in the bitter season, under a moonless, starving sky. Not with the horns and war drums of a planned assault, but with the silence of necessity. The Picts, driven by famine and the cold, did not ask for permission. They came over the northern ridge, silent as frost, focused as hounds. I stood watch upon a crumbling Hyborian tower, far from the city's glow, when I saw the smoke, not the gentle smoke of a cooking fire, but the black, oily plume of burning wood and flesh. The incident was simple. A small breach in the outer wall, near a weak postern gate, the city engineers had neglected for decades. A single, insignificant failure of maintenance. But the barbarian does not need a siege engine. He needs only the smallest crack. The softness of the guard, who slept by his wineskin instead of his spear, was the fuel. The fire started fast. The civilized slept deep in their silken sheets, trusting the stone. The stone betrayed them. The first sound the civil heard was not the war cry, but the panicked screams of their neighbors. They resisted, of course, but their resistance was a theatrical performance. These men, trained in law and rhetoric, knew nothing of the bone-deep terror that freezes the blade. They grabbed rusty family swords, relics used for display, and wore thin breastplates designed for parades. They believed in the system. They thought the king would send reinforcements, that the organized militia would rally. This faith in external structures, this dependence on the system, was their death warrant. The Picts moved with the grim, quiet efficiency of butchers at a slaughterhouse. They didn't engage in fair combat. They sought the easiest way to kill, and the civilized offered 1,000 easy ways. Their weakness was the lie they lived by, the belief that they were entitled to protection without earning it daily. My action was simple: observation, then necessity. I moved toward the chaos, but not to save the city, to survive the outcome. I bypassed the main routes, slick with blood and fallen men, and moved along the rooftops, feeling the cold slate beneath my boots. The key to navigating true collapse is understanding where the soft spots lie. The civilized, when panicked, always flee toward the center, toward the presumed seat of power, the main plaza, the temple. They cluster, becoming an easier target. The barbarian, conversely, flees toward the edge, toward the darkness, toward the escape route. My method was the way of the shadow. I found the supply caches the Picts ignored, the hidden alcoves the panicked citizens missed. I moved with the steel of my ancestors, an Atlantean blade that knew only hunger and use. I did not fight for glory or for a king's coin. I fought only to ensure that the ground I stood upon would not swallow me. The undeniable truth was revealed not by the sight of blood, which is common enough, but by the sight of their eyes. Look at a starving wolf. Its eyes hold fear, yes, but also a primal, focused purpose. Look at the eyes of a dying nobleman. They hold only confusion and betrayal. They could not comprehend that the structure they relied upon, the social contract, the bureaucracy, the polite promises, had vanished instantly. The first revelation was this: law is only enforced until the moment the lawgiver runs away. I saw a high judge, famed for his eloquence and severity, trying to bribe a Pict with a handful of useless jewels. The barbarian simply took the jewels, spat on them, and killed the judge because his hands were soft and his face was pleading. That is the moment the mask falls. Civilization is a fragile, decorative layer over the brutal core of existence. Strip away the silk, and you find only raw meat, shivering in the wind. The soft man believes that a chain of command offers safety. Think of it like a brittle clay vase. One tiny flaw, and the entire structure shatters. The barbarian, conversely, is the single perfect stone. He is self-contained. The civilized man trains his body for leisure and trusts the king's army to handle the violence. This is like a man building a magnificent boat, but refusing to learn how to swim. When the storm hits, the boat, the city, the law, the king's promise, will certainly sink. The only things that survive are the deep instinct for water and the strength of one's own lungs. Dependence is a chemical poison, subtle and slow. It makes the bones weak and the mind complacent. Only through constant, brutal self-reliance, the willingness to face the absolute worst alone, does true strength, true sovereignty, emerge. The softness of the citizen is the silent invitation for the predator. This sudden, absolute collapse alters everything. It strips away the pretense of civilization in hours, reducing decades of learned etiquette to dust. The consequence is simple. The gold coin is worthless. The deed to the sprawling estate is meaningless parchment. The only currency that retains its value is competence. A small sack of dried meat is worth more than the king's entire treasury if you are starving. A sharpened blade is worth more than a legion of guards who flee. The soft structures vanished, the markets closed, the temples burned, the government dissolved into thin air. What remains are the fundamentals. Who can procure water? Who knows how to mend a wound? Who can kill swiftly? The fall of Aquilonia proves that societal complexity is a liability when survival is on the line. Everything we built to make life easier ultimately made us weaker when difficulty finally arrived. But the ashes of the civil state hide a deeper, colder challenge. The immediate threat, the Picts, is temporary. They will gorge themselves and retreat, dragging their spoils back into the wilderness. The second mystery is what comes next. The internal collapse. Who holds power now? When the king is dead and the laws are burned, the vacuum is filled by the most capable brute left standing. This is where the truly hard choices begin. Do you try to rebuild the fragile lie, inviting future weakness? Or do you embrace the savage truth and claim dominion over the ruins? The danger is no longer the external foe, but the internal hunger. The desperation of the remaining civil, who now must choose between learning the hard truth or falling into banditry and chaos. The struggle moves from the battlements to the mind of the survivor. Who will define the new nature of power? the scholar who survived by luck, or the warrior who survived by design. This is the great recurring pattern of the ages. Civilization is not an upward ascent. It is a cycle of construction and inevitable decay. Look beyond the current moment, beyond the immediate gore. The forest always creeps back onto the paved road. The sea always reclaims the fallen harbors. We see this in the crumbled towers of Acheron and the dust of forgotten Stygia. The image, bigger than the burning city, is this: man cannot escape his own nature. We build walls to feel safe, but those walls become our prison when we forget how to fight outside them. We create comfort, and comfort breeds softness, and softness guarantees ruin. The barbarians, the wolves, the wild men, they are merely the natural instruments of cosmic correction, arriving to prune the weak branches so that the hard trunk can endure. The system attempts to remove struggle. The nature of the cosmos demands it. I stand now upon the king's shattered dais, the place where high decrees were issued and fools were honored. The only sound is the lick of flames and the distant cry of a carrion bird. What remains is not wealth or glory, but a lesson etched in soot and blood. The legacy of Aquilonia is the absolute proof that the pursuit of effortless security leads to catastrophic insecurity. They died because they outsourced their defense to others, their sustenance to systems, and their inner strength to hope. They depended on the map and forgot the terrain. Their legacy is the cold truth. The soft man cannot build anything lasting, for he cannot last himself. All that endures in the ruin is the memory of the steel that was used, and the sheer unyielding will of the few who understood that survival is a solitary discipline, not a collective right. So let the ashes settle. Let the wind carry the smell of failure far across the plains. Understand this: your comfort is temporary. Your laws are paper. Your protectors will fail you. Look at your own life now. Where have you grown soft? Where have you traded personal sovereignty for convenience? Identify the wall you trust, and then sharpen the weapon that must defend you when that wall inevitably crumbles. Do not mistake peace for permanence. Prepare for the cold. Prepare for the silence. Because when the structures fall, the only thing that matters is the strength you built inside yourself, stone by painful stone. That strength cannot be taxed, cannot be stolen, and cannot be bribed away by a king's promise. Be the wolf or be the sheep. The night is coming regardless of your choice. Now, go learn to swim.